Hello and welcome to Brookfield Farm, one of 7 donkey sanctuary sites across the southwest of England that visitors rarely get to see. Perched on top of a hill around 5 miles away from our HQ in Sidmouth, this 184-acre farm is home to over 300 donkeys. Donkeys in Need first came to this site in 1976, but big changes came in 2017 when our state-of-the-art donkey hospital opened its doors, offering world-class veterinary support. Welcome along to this very special Sanctuary from Your Sofa event, marking 5 years since the opening of our wonderful donkey hospital here at Brookfield Farm. In the years since you helped us to fund the building of the hospital, thousands of donkeys have passed through the doors to receive the very best in equine veterinary treatment and care. From dental interventions to complex surgery, the fantastic team here are well equipped to treat donkeys in need of a helping hand. And over the next hour, we are going to be showcasing exactly what this place has to offer. Let's take a look at what's coming up. When a donkey needs emergency treatment, our team are always on hand to help. We'll be hearing the story of Chucky, a donkey who was recently rushed into the hospital after an X-ray revealed a tumour inside one of his hooves. We'll be live at Beach Boxes to meet and greet some of the hospital's longer-term patients as they recover from treatment and prepare to head back to their usual homes. Veterinary nurse Sue will be there to introduce us. We'll have an Access All Areas pass as Vet Jamie joins us for a live tour of the hospital building. This will be our chance to see all the brilliant facilities on offer here. If you want to look after your teeth, a regular trip to the dentist is a must. The same goes for our donkeys. We'll be following Drummer as he heads to an appointment with lead equine dentist Jesus. And before we go, the wonderful Peter Wright, star of Channel 5's The Yorkshire Vet, will be joining us live here at Brookfield Farm to answer some of your questions. As always, we'd love for you to get involved during today's live event. If you are watching on Facebook, Twitter or YouTube this afternoon, you can get in touch with our team with any questions or comments you have using the live chat function. You can also contact us by tweeting at Donkey Sanctuary or dropping us an email at sfys@thedonkeysanctuary.org.uk. So have your questions ready for our Q&A session a little later on. Now, as we mentioned, Peter Wright will be joining us here live a bit later on. First, we want to show you how Peter got on when we invited him to the hospital back in September to work alongside our vets and experience some cutting-edge treatment. With some scenes of surgery, here's how he got on.
Today I'm in beautiful Devon near Sidmouth. I'm very excited because I'm coming to work with the veterinary team at Brookfield Farm Veterinary Hospital. This is a new facility that was built 5 years ago, so we're here celebrating its 5th anniversary. In 2019 I became the ambassador for the Donkey Sanctuary, which gives me a great amount of pride, and it's a pleasure for me to come today to work with the team to find out a bit more about how the hospital functions.
Hello Peter.
Vicky!
I'm Vicky, I'm one of the vets here.
Very pleased to meet you.
Yeah, how very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming today.
Well, I've been really looking forward to it, and I understand you've got a patient to treat today.
Yes.
Goes by the name of Dopey?
Yeah, Dopey, one of the 7 dwarfs, but he isn't a dwarf. He's a very lovely donkey.
Excellent.
And we hope to be able to prolong his life with some laser treatment today.
Oh, that sounds very exciting.
Yeah. And you can come and see our shiny hospital.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
So this is Dopey and Doc, is that right?
Yes, they are part of the 7 dwarfs.
Part of the 7 dwarfs.
These 2 are particularly close, so they've come in as a bonded pair.
What's going to happen today? What are we actually at the hospital for today, Vicky?
Sadly, one of the grooms at Woods found a small lump on the sheath of Dopey, and it's a sarcoid.
Oh.
And since then, we found another, And I did his pre-op check last week and found a third one. So
Right.
a sarcoid is a skin tumour.
Yes.
And we're going to remove it today using a laser.
Will Doc stay here, or will Doc accompany him down to the theatre?
Doc will stay with him until he receives his
Lovely.
sedative.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So we're going to take these lads down now to the theatre.
Yeah, we'll go and get their head cameras on. So 50% of our workload is the sarcoids.
That's a huge amount, isn't it?
It is, it really is.
Don't they look innocuous? They look harmless, don't they? But
Yeah.
they're not. And I understand, one of the 7 that came in didn't make it through sarcoids. Is that
That's
correct?
right. Happy had repeated surgery, and every time you have them treated, the chance of success goes down. So the sarcoid becomes harder and harder to defeat.
People seeing these lumps and think, oh, it's harmless, that it's not going to cause any problems.
Yeah.
And really, these can be fatal.
Yeah, always treat early, treat when they're small,
Yes.
treat before they've spread.
And of course, the message to people out there that have donkeys, pay particular attention when you are grooming them,
Yeah.
because these things are often better felt rather
Yeah.
than seen. It's much easier.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's go through to surgery. So now you'll see, I'm going to go really slowly, and it's just going through these tissues really quickly. So this will be off in no time. And we're done. So that's that gone.
Superb.
It's good to hold it like a pen.
Yeah.
Careful not to think of it like a scalpel and drag. You have to let it
I've
cut
got it,
as
yeah.
it goes. Perfect. So now, go through this thin area and just sort of keep it steadily moving. Perfect. So I'm just letting it cut as I go.
Dare I ask, with the laser, what's the frequency of recurrence?
Our results here show that the chance of recurrence are quite low.
Good.
But there's things that we can do alongside the laser to improve the chance of killing it all. And they're using quite nasty chemotherapy drugs, but you can see the problems with that. So that one's come off quite nicely.
Yes.
So we're finished and he can go back into the recovery box.
Excellent. Dopey is now back in the recovery area, which is nice and soft and padded. We've got to stay nice and quiet because we don't want to cause problems as it comes out from the anaesthetic. He's regaining his reflexes now and he's going to be coming out pretty quickly. So the best thing I can do now is leave him alone. Vicky, we're back at the beach boxes now. How do you feel that went?
The 3 sarcoids is a lot to have and find, but the positive is that we didn't find any more than that.
Yes.
I think we've got them off successfully, and the histology will confirm that for us.
So from a veterinary point of view, how do you think that's going to pan out for him now? Without a crystal ball, you can't tell, I suppose, can you really?
No, so we'll watch that bigger one for swelling that's
Yes.
right on the tip of the sheath.
Yes.
And he's going to be on quite a strong anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
But he will also be pain scored this afternoon to see if he needs anything extra. So we could put in paracetamol or a morphine-based drug. Once he's recovered and the wound's healed, he'll be on a strict monitoring, and that's on top of the grooms checking him as well.
Now, not me doing it, but watching you do it with the laser brought it home to me how quickly you could remove these cancerous lumps. And really, I've got to say, it's a grateful thanks to the supporters of the Donkey Sanctuary to be able to afford to buy this type of equipment. It really does make a massive difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the fact that Dopey's had to go under general anaesthetic, I mean, that's another huge cost, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people. It isn't just you or I working on it. It's a huge team, isn't it?
Yeah.
To make sure everything goes smoothly.
Yeah.
That picture says it all to me.
They look happy.
Lovely.
Fantastic to see Dopey receiving all the help he needed thanks to your incredible support. And we are delighted to have Peter in the studio here with us now. Welcome, Peter.
Good afternoon, Sophia.
It's lovely to have you here. And so, Peter, what was it like to be involved in Dopey's sarcoid surgery?
Well, I think, as people can already see there, we've got the state-of-the-art facilities here at the Donkey Sanctuary. And it was wonderful for me as a mixed practice vet who don't have the luxury of these facilities to actually have the opportunity to take part in the operation. And, you know, using the laser equipment really it's cutting edge stuff. And again, that's something that I've never had the opportunity to work with before on any equine. And the other thing that's very noticeable is the team effort in there, and it's very obvious on that video clip, the teamwork involved and the collaboration. Everyone knew the role in there, because the important point is that what's of paramount importance is the donkey, Dopey himself. It was absolutely vital that went as stress-free as possible, and that the outcome is as good as it possibly can be. And that's what the Donkey Sanctuary offered.
Absolutely. And Peter, just how important are advances in veterinary treatment in being able to treat animals like Dopey?
Well, as I said, I haven't had the opportunity to use the laser, as lesser mortals don't. But and it was wonderful to have that opportunity. I mean, we do treat sarcoids. Sarcoids are horribly invasive, malignant tumours. And the earlier they're spotted in the development, the better the outcome. And these were spotted very early, again, thanks to the Donkey Sanctuary. But, you know, in my world, I have to use an old-fashioned method called banding, where we put elasticated bandages, elasticated bands on these sarcoids and deprive them of the blood supply so they drop off. Or we use highly toxic creams that have been developed. And really, these sort of things are going to be superseded, and are being superseded by what we're seeing here today. It's much less painful. The outcome is much better, and the important thing is the end result is so much better in that we get much less recurrence. And we know now from Dopey's operation, from the histology, that Dopey is going to make a complete recovery, and we're not going to get any regrowth there. So the outlook for Dopey is fantastic.
It is, and great steps forward in progression in veterinary treatments.
Absolutely.
Peter, as a vet and working on many different farm animals, how often do you get to work with donkeys?
I do get the opportunity to work with donkeys now and again, not as often as I would like. And 72 hours ago, I had a donkey day. I had to follow up a visit that I'd done the previous week with a donkey called Bertie, who was 22 years old. And he was pretty much non-weight bearing when I saw him initially. He had an abscess in his foot, which I pared out, and I revisited him 72 hours ago. And I'd left the owner a bandage to replace. Bertie had taken a great dislike to his second bandage and removed it by the time I got there. But I was pleased to say he was fully sound and strutting about without his bandage on, saying, "I'm okay, you didn't worry about me." And in the afternoon, I had to go and castrate a young chap called Fernando, who had been paired up very successfully with an older lady called Sybil, and they were getting on famously. But Sadly, Fernando had got to the time of his life where he needed to part with his testicles, and that was my role. Again, I don't have the state-of-the-art facilities that we have at the Donkey Sanctuary, and Fernando was operated on in a field. The outcome was excellent, but again, it just shows the fantastic facilities here at the Donkey Sanctuary.
It's great here, isn't it? And Peter, just how important is it to be able to represent the work of the Donkey Sanctuary?
Well, that's a very good question, Sophia. I was very privileged in 2018 to visit the Donkey Sanctuary as part of a telethon programme being put out by Channel 5, where various charities were promoted. And I had the fortune to travel to the Donkey Sanctuary here in Devon to film here. And I was so uplifted by the experience of seeing these donkeys, a lot of which had been neglected and abused, and how they had been, the mental and the physical well-being had been improved so well that it gave me such an uplifting experience. But it wasn't just that, it was the friendliness of the Donkey Sanctuary, the staff. I was made to feel so welcome because it is like one big family here at the Donkey Sanctuary.
Oh, it really is. Peter, how wonderful is it to know that the hospital is funded entirely by our supporters' kind donations?
I think, you know, what we're looking at here today, the state-of-the-art operating facility, when you think that the fundraising for that began in 2015, and for the hospital to be fully operational by 2017, I think says everything about the support of the Donkey Sanctuary. And it's very evident, you know, when you look at see the sanctuary from your sofa today, people can see what the money's bought. Being a Yorkshireman, that's very important to be able to see what your money's buying. And I think, you know, the outcome for these donkeys through the operating facility that we've got means that we're going to see donkeys alive and well and thriving purely as a result of the technology that's available at the Donkey Sanctuary.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to have you as our ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Sophia.
As promised, Peter will be joining us again a bit later on to answer some questions of yours, so do keep them coming. Now, most of the donkeys that are brought into the hospital, like Dopey, arrive for routine treatment booked in advance. Some donkeys, though, need treatment as a matter of urgency. With scenes of surgery, here's Chucky's story.
The veterinary team deal with emergency admissions on a really regular basis, probably once or twice a week. The staff at Brookfield Farm called me to say that they'd found a donkey called Chucky who had developed a sudden lameness. When I initially saw Chucky, I was really concerned about how sore he was on his front right leg. My initial thoughts were that he could have a foot abscess or a case of laminitis. We decided we need to take some x-rays of Chucky's foot. The x-rays showed us that he had what we call a keratoma. This is a slow-growing tumour that affects the bone inside of the hoof. They grow very slowly at the start, but then they pick up speed and the donkey becomes lame very quickly. This can sometimes also coincide with a lump on the side of the hoof wall. If Chucky's surgery hadn't have been prioritised, the keratoma would have continued to grow. This makes the surgery more difficult and also makes the outlook worse for Chucky, as once the tumour is quite big, it can be very difficult to remove. Chucky was brought into the hospital with his best friend Charlie. As we know, donkeys are really closely bonded, and any separation from their friend can cause them undue stress. This was important for Chucky going through his surgery, but also really important for Charlie, who would have become stressed if he was left on the farm. Chucky's surgery was performed under general anaesthesia. He was brought into a special padded box where we knocked him down and he went to sleep. Once he was asleep, we used a Dremel or a saw to take away the hard part of the hoof wall. We then moved him into theatre, where we applied a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. I then prepped, washing my hands and putting a new scrub set on. When I came back, we used clean tools to remove the affected part of the tumour and get to healthy tissue underneath. The objective of the surgery is to remove all of the tumour but still maintain the stability of the foot. This can be really difficult if the tumour has gotten quite big. Once we get down to the bone, we flush it out and clean everything up so that we reduce the chance of infection and can prolong a nice recovery. There are risks involved with a general anaesthetic. The main ones are side effects from the drugs that are used. There can also be a risk of infection during the surgery or recurrence of the keratoma after the surgery is finished. We only ever perform these surgeries if we feel that it's the best form of treatment for the donkey. We do everything that we can to minimise the risks, but unfortunately you can't rule them out completely. The procedure went very, very well. Chucky recovered brilliantly and was reunited with his friend Charlie later that day. Initial recovery from anaesthesia takes a few hours, but the recovery from keratoma surgery would take much longer. The site requires bandaging for weeks until it becomes hard and the donkey can go back out with its friends. Once we were happy with this surgical site, we would expect him to be back on the farm within about 10 days, where he could be managed by the grooms and by the farm vet. Unfortunately, a few days after Chucky's surgery, he became suddenly unwell. Having been very bright and back to his normal self, Chucky stopped eating, which alerted our grooms that something might not be right. They called the duty vet immediately, who came out and had a look at Chucky. The vet found that Chucky had a severe form of colic, which needed to be acted upon immediately. The only options would have been emergency surgery or euthanasia. Unfortunately, even with emergency surgery, the outlook is very poor. Chucky was an older donkey who had been otherwise healthy, but we'd recently put him through a very serious surgery. He was also at an incredibly high risk of infection due to already having a surgical site in his foot. It was really disappointing to see Chucky deteriorate, and it was very upsetting to see him in so much pain. The whole team had worked really, really hard and done a great job on his surgery. Unfortunately, complications sometimes occur. The donkey's welfare always comes first. And unfortunately, sometimes, if we feel that their quality of life is compromised due to their pain, the best decision for the donkey is to put them to sleep. Euthanasia is only ever a last resort for our donkeys. We do everything we can in the hospital to treat them to the best of our ability. We make this as nice as we can for the donkeys. Chucky had Charlie by his side and was given a small amount of sedation. We make it as nice as we can for them and for ourselves, but it never stops being difficult. Once we'd put Chucky to sleep, our main concern was Charlie. Unfortunately, when a donkey's friend has been put to sleep, the donkey that's left behind can become very stressed and sometimes even unwell. For that reason, Charlie was really closely monitored after Chucky had been put to sleep. When nothing more can be done, as in Chucky's case, the kindness of our supporters allows us to give a calm and comfortable end to the donkey's life, surrounded by those who care about them. This is so important to the team here at the sanctuary. It's our duty to provide the best care for the donkeys at the end of their life, just as we have throughout their lives, and this would not be possible without our brilliant supporters.
A really sad ending to Chucky's story there. Despite their best efforts, sometimes our team have some extremely difficult decisions to make. However, thanks to your support, Chucky was able to live a happy and fulfilling life that ended peacefully with his best interests at heart. If you would like to make a donation this afternoon, head to bray.news/donate or scan the QR code on screen now. If you're watching on our website, you can tap the yellow donate button in the corner of the page. Or if you're on Facebook, you can tap the donate button below the video. Anything you are able to give could help us to be there more for donkeys like Chucky in their hour of need and sometimes in their final moments. Now, as well as being a permanent home for hundreds of donkeys, Brookfield Farm also provides temporary housing for donkeys who have come for a more extended hospital stay. It wouldn't be sanctuary from your sofa if we didn't get out into the field to meet the herd. So let's cross over to Donna, who's with some of our hospital's inpatients. Unfortunately, we're having a few technical issues there with Donna at Beach Boxes, so instead we're going to go on a lovely tour. So first, back in 2015, we asked if you could help us to fund a new state-of-the-art veterinary hospital to replace the ageing facilities that our team were using to treat donkeys in need. Just 2 years later, thanks to your incredible generosity, the hospital was ready to start accepting its very first patients. As we celebrate the 5-year anniversary of its opening, we want to show you exactly what you helped us to achieve. Joining us now is Jamie, one of our vets who is primed and ready to take us on a live tour around the building.
So these are our veterinary offices here at Brookfield Farm in Devon. So this is home to our team of 10 veterinary surgeons, 2 intern veterinary surgeons, 6 veterinary nurses, our dedicated veterinary grooms and our dedicated admin support team who take care of knee relinquishments into the sanctuary. We are also home to 3 equine dental technicians who provide all of the routine dentistry treatments for our donkeys. So the new facilities built here at Brookfield Farm through your generous donations have enabled us to really increase our efficiency as a hospital. We've now got much more space, much more spread out facilities, so we can treat as many donkeys as possible in a very quick time frame. So our waiting times have really gone down, and the facilities that we have are really, really high level with regard to us treating the donkeys. So we're just coming this way down the corridor towards our hospital boxes, and up here on the left hand side you can see the viewing area into our operating theatre. We'll be going in there later as part of the tour, but it's got a really nice viewing window, which means that we can use it for lots of kind of education and teaching purposes, which is really, really handy. So moving through into here, we have got our reception area for the donkeys that have come in for a general anaesthetic. So the donkey and their friend come into the hospital together and are in this area together prior to any surgeries taking place, where our veterinary nurses will put a catheter in for intravenous access, and a vet will examine the donkey thoroughly before surgery just to make sure they are fit for the procedure. So coming down here now, we have got our critical care boxes. These are where our sickest donkeys are kept, and sometimes they require 24-hour surveillance by our veterinary team. So we've got 4 boxes down here where they have access to intravenous fluid therapy if required, and quite often this is where we will house our sickest patients from rescues and relinquishments, or donkeys that have been kind of seized in a very, very poor state, where we can treat them and get them back to full health. We've got our induction box here, which is where we induce general anaesthesia and recovery for our patients. So it's nice and padded. We've also got heat lamps and dimmable lighting. And if you look upwards, you can see that we have got the winch and hoist system for safely transporting our patients from the induction box onto the table. This is different to our previous hospital, as it is much safer and much larger, which means that we can move our larger patients, such as Poitou donkeys and mules, much more safely. We also have got some weighing scales here, so we can pre-weigh any patients that come into the hospital, so we can get an accurate weight for drug dosing and check their body weights to make sure they're not losing or gaining weight while they're staying in the hospital with us. So if we come this way, just going into our theatre facilities. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, as with all veterinary practices in the UK, we were quite severely affected in the way that we were able to carry out our work. The government directive back in March 2020 was that only emergency veterinary surgeries were able to be carried out and all routine veterinary work must cease. Now, we were able to work really effectively here due to our spread out facilities in small teams, so we could safely practice throughout the pandemic and provide gold standard treatment to our donkeys as required. So we're just coming down here into the corridor, and we're just going into the changing rooms here. So these are our changing facilities. Prior to any general anaesthetic, the team get changed into their scrubs and indoor shoes. We've also got shower facilities, and as we just enter the clean preparation area, we've just got to take off our outdoor shoes, as we need to keep it as clean as possible for sterile operating conditions. So in here we have got our scrub area. This is where the surgeon will prepare themselves prior to any general anaesthetic operation. So they wash their arms and hands thoroughly with surgical soap and get changed into their sterile gloves and gowns. In the preparation area in general, this is where we keep all of our surgical equipment. It's also where we keep all of our anaesthetic drugs, and we have autoclave facilities to sterilise all our surgical instruments post-surgery. And in here is our state-of-the-art equine operating theatre. So it's a really, really large space, which is really useful for teaching and monitoring the patient. We can have lots of different people in this room. We've got an adjustable table, which is really useful for donkeys of different shapes and sizes, and the really high ceilings mean that even our largest patients, such as the Poitou donkeys, can safely be operated on. We've got all the oxygen equipment, the anaesthetic machine, and the monitoring equipment over here as well. And we're just heading back through our preparation area into our medicine room. Will be the next stop on the tour. So we're just walking back. And now we can put back on our outdoor shoes. So if you'd like to follow me, we are now coming into our medicine preparation area, and joining me in here is Chloe, who is one of our registered veterinary nurses, and she is just preparing some evening medication for our inpatients.
Hello, I've been making up the donkey's medications for later on today. We use bread or biscuits to make these, and most commonly we mix their medication with jam, although dependent on the donkey's preference we might use honey or Marmite. These are a really good option for us because we can give them straight to the donkey. We don't have to worry about separating them from their friends, and it becomes a really stress-free experience for them. The other option we have is to make forage balls. These are for soaking their feed, and then we can make them into a ball with their medication inside. They're really good for donkeys that are suspicious of taking medication from our feet, from our hands, because then we can put it into a bucket on the ground, and they can eat it, and it becomes a bit of an enrichment activity for them. However, sometimes we do have to give donkeys medication in feed, so we may well dilute tablets into squash or cordial and add this to a feed. However, we can put this straight into the donkey's mouth like a wormer.
And Chloe, what are the most common medications you have to make up?
We usually are making anti-inflammatory medications up. This one is aquapalazone, sometimes known as bute, but we also do give the donkeys antibiotics, and that's usually straight into their feed.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Chloe.
That's okay.
So now we are going into our main clinical building. So this is where we carry out most of the treatment and investigations of our patients here in the hospital. So if you'd like to follow me, just coming into our imaging suite. So the entire building is lead lined to make it safe for radiographs to be taken. So we've got large space here where we can take x-rays of donkeys, and we also have got our portable ultrasonography machine. So the ultrasound machine is something that we use very commonly here with our donkeys. It enables us to look thoroughly at all abdominal organs, also at the cardiovascular system, at ocular injuries, and it really assists us in the diagnosis of medical colic cases. We also use it for diagnosing pregnancy in some of our relinquished jennies, as quite often female donkeys come into us that are already in foal. So through here we've got our main clinical workup area. These are a set of stocks which we use for safely handling our patients while we are able to perform thorough exams. So we can perform a safe rectal examination, an abdominal belly tap and a nasogastric tube placement within these stocks safely and effectively. We also have got the holding pen in front of the stocks. This means that the animals that are in here receiving treatment can see their friends at all times, so this helps to reassure them, keep them calm and try and make them feel as at ease as possible while they are here in the hospital. So we're now just coming into the advanced dental room. So this is where we carry out our dental surgeries. So unlike the sterile surgery, dental surgery is quite a dirty surgery. The donkeys need constant access to food, otherwise they can risk developing hyperlipemia. So a similar setup we have in here. We've got the stocks. These stocks have got extra boarding just for our miniature donkeys, as keeps them nice and safe and means they can't duck out underneath the stocks. And we've got all of our advanced dental equipment stored in here as well. So this piece of equipment here is a gag, so we use this to examine a donkey's mouth. So it opens up the mouth and it enables us to have a good look at their cheek teeth. This one is modified with plastic plates, which means that we can use it for intraoral radiographs to be taken of the animal's incisor teeth as well, so a really handy piece of kit. And also we've got some advanced dental equipment just out here on the table, all set up for surgery on Monday.
Thank you, Jamie, for such a great tour of the hospital. We hope you enjoyed that whistle-stop tour around our fantastic hospital. We're incredibly lucky to have the facilities we do, and it just wouldn't have been possible without people like you. Thank you for your generosity. Do keep sending your questions through, as in just a few moments we'll be heading back to the studio for our Q&A session with Peter Wright and Jamie. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitter or YouTube this afternoon, you can do that using the live chat feature, which is being closely monitored by our team this afternoon. If not, you can tweet us at Donkey Sanctuary or send us your question via email at sfys@thedonkeysanctuary.org.uk. Sadly, we won't be able to answer every question, but we will squeeze in as many as we can. Right, so you've seen the facilities. It's now time to see some donkey dentistry in action. Here's what happened to a donkey called Drummer, came along for an appointment with our dental lead, Jesus.
I hear about a donkey called Drummer from Brookfield Farm because of the dental technician. She told me that this animal was having a dental abnormality that needed a further investigation in the hospital. Oral health is very important for donkeys because a tooth that is displaced or teeth that they are having spaces in between are going to keep food packing, and it's going to be a painful condition for the donkey, and they are not going to gain weight properly, and as well as in the case of Drummer, it's going to be a painful condition that can interfere in the quality of life of these animals. Drummer had a friend that came with him to the hospital because it's very important for us that they come with their companions, because sometimes they can feel alone or in a very strange environment, and the companion always helps them to be happier, and they can continue eating, and for this reason they don't have so many secondary problems when they are moving from one place to another that is strange for them. So the signals that concern about this dental examination was that he was having a defect in the secondary dentin of one of his teeth. The secondary dentin is a material from the tooth that is protecting the vital pulp of the tooth. And we have to do a further investigation to confirm that that tooth was healthy and was not giving any pain to the animal. So when Drummer arrived here, we palpate all the areas in the face to confirm that it's not painful or has any swelling or any abnormality or asymmetry in the face. After that, we sedated to do a proper examination. We noted that was having some tartar around the canines, that this sometimes happen because they are accumulating food material, and these bacteria produce this layer of tartar that produce gingivitis, and the gum gets very sore. So we remove it, we clean it, and that hopefully will help as well the animal to be healthy and happier. After this sedation, we open the mouth, we flush all the material to clean all the mouth as much as we can, and later we examined the oral cavity. We noted, as the dental technician spotted, that was having a defect in one of the teeth in the secondary dentin, and so we decided to take some x-rays. So with the x-rays we can assess the root of that tooth to confirm that root is not diseased or infected, and as well we assess the surrounding structures of the tooth to confirm that was not having any problem. So after all of this diagnostic investigation, we decided that Drummer was fine, was not having any painful condition. That defect perhaps is just incidental or a little trauma, but has not gone further, has not produced any infection in the tooth. So we have decided to send Drummer to the farm, and in the farm they are going to monitor the waste to confirm that it's not dropping waste, and they are going to continue monitoring that the animal is eating all right and is not having any painful condition. It was very helpful to have these facilities in the hospital because we needed to take head x-rays. To do head x-rays in a donkey is a very big animal, and you can imagine that we need to use very potent equipment that as well is dangerous for our farm staff if we do this in the farm. So we bring here the animal as well is much more relaxed, we don't have noises around, we can sedate the animal in a quiet environment. We are ourselves as well in a safe environment for the radiation and all of this. And yeah, we can have great facilities to assess these x-rays and do very intensive investigations. Thanks to our supporters, we can have these amazing facilities that they are great for the donkeys and to ensure their well-being, and as well our safety as well, because our staff is important as well. And yeah, it's amazing to be able to work in a place like this.
All the best to Drummer there as he heads back to Trowell Farm to rejoin his herd. It's time now to take a look at some of the questions you've been sending in. Thank you so much to everyone who has been in touch. Peter and Jamie are here with me now in the studio. Welcome back, Peter and Jamie. How are you? And so, we have got a question from George on YouTube asking, what's the cost of a general anaesthetic? Do you think you could answer that one, Jamie?
Yeah, so obviously all the donkeys here, unlike in private practice, they're owned by us. So the costing is kind of quite difficult to give an exact figure on. But if you're looking at a normal equine general anaesthetic at an equine hospital, you know, we're easily looking at 4 figures. Yes. Just for the anaesthetic costs. So every anaesthetic involves a veterinary surgeon as an anaesthetist, as well as a team of nurses, and then obviously more veterinary surgeons involved in the surgery as well.
Yes, of course.
So it's a team approach, isn't it, as well? And with the cost of the equipment, it does make it a very costly business.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so much effort goes into these kind of procedures. And obviously we are very lucky here at the Donkey Sanctuary that we've got such good facilities and such a good team for performing them.
Absolutely. And we've got a question here, which I think would be good for you, Peter, from Steffi on Facebook, asking, why are sarcoid tumours so common in donkeys?
I think that's a very good question. I think they are common in donkeys, and I think they're common obviously in horses and ponies as well. And the fact that I think they're picked up very quickly at the donkey sanctuary, because a lot of these things are better felt rather than seen. They're much easier to feel. So when they've been groomed, as they are groomed meticulously here, they're picked up at a very early stage, and that makes the success rate so much greater. The cause of sarcoids, we don't know. They're horrible things to deal with, and we don't actually know what the cause is, do we?
Sadly not. There's a number of theories out there as to what could cause them. So kind of fly bites are kind of the most thought reasoning behind them, but unfortunately there is no known cause and no known cure other than kind of surgical excision and various creams we can.
Yeah, they're very difficult, cancerous things, aren't they?
And that's why it's very important that the donkey sanctuary as the laser treatment, because that gives us by far our best chance of success.
Absolutely. And a question for Jamie relating to Chucky's story, asking, there's quite a few people asking, how is Charlie now?
Yeah, so Charlie returned back to his group of donkeys on Brookfield Farm, and he's doing really well actually. He's been monitored very closely by the veterinary team since Chucky passed away, and he's actually doing really well and has made some new friends within his old group.
Brilliant. There's a question from Melissa on Facebook asking Peter, what made you want to get involved with the wonderful work of the Donkey Sanctuary?
Well, that's a very good question. And as I said earlier, in 2018, I was invited down here when we were doing a programme on Channel 5, a telethon, supporting various charities. And I think I didn't know much about the work of the Donkey Sanctuary, living virtually at the other end of the country. And the fact that when I came here, it was the fact that a lot of these animals had been abused and neglected, and to see how they'd been restored to full health was a joy to behold. But it was more than that. It was the fact that the staff here were so welcoming, so friendly, so well trained, and the rapport that they have with the donkeys. And as Jamie's alluded to there, they know these animals. Even though there's so many, they're all known individually. And I went out of here, having visited the Donkey Sanctuary, back home with a real spring in my step. And I would say to anybody that's feeling a little bit down, just not feeling themselves, come to the Donkey Sanctuary, come and see what's on offer here, and I promise you, you will go home a very happy person.
And Peter, we've actually got a question from Abby here on Facebook, which I think leads on quite well from this one, asking, what work is the Donkey Sanctuary doing overseas?
Yes, that's another very good question. And the Donkey Sanctuary has spread its wings, so to speak, and is now pretty much all over the world. And they do act in collaboration with various partners abroad. And for instance, there are a lot of donkeys that, as beasts of burden, they're absolutely vital to communities across the world in carrying food, in carrying water. And it's very important that these donkeys have robust health. And that's where the Donkey Sanctuary comes in, to educate, to help train, and to basically make the donkey's lot a much happier and better one. And the other important thing I should say, which isn't quite as joyous, is that the Donkey Sanctuary have initiated a thing called Stop the Slaughter. And Stop the Slaughter involves wholesale killing of donkeys in the production of a Chinese medicine called Jiao. And this is something that has got to be tackled at a political level. It's got to be tackled at the highest level of government, because this is something that has got to be stopped, because these donkeys need the help of the Donkey Sanctuary more than ever before in this barbaric situation.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Yeah, that's very important. We have a question here for Jamie from Susan, on Facebook, Are there any donkeys waiting for surgeries at the moment?
So yes, there are. We perform surgeries in our theatre almost on a daily basis. Luckily our wait time is very short, but we do have a number of procedures booked in over the next couple of weeks. Obviously urgency surgeries, are pushed straight to the front of the queue, and we will operate, kind of 24 hours a day if required.
Yes.
But thankfully, those situations are rare, and surgeries are booked in and generally have a wait time of approximately 1 to 2 weeks.
Sure. And we've got a great question from Julie here from Facebook asking, which I think you could both probably chip into this one. How often do donkeys need a dental check? Her vet has some equipment, but can it be done at home?
Well, in the short answer, yes, it can be done at home by a qualified equine dental technician who knows what they're looking for. And I mean, you've got a wealth of experience of that here, haven't you, Jamie?
Yeah, absolutely. How often the dental is required, at a minimum it'd be once a year, but that all depends on the individual donkey and what is going on in its mouth currently. So we have some donkeys here that are on annual checks, some on 6 monthly, some on 4 monthly, 3 monthly, all depending on what state their mouths are in. And it is very, very important that donkeys need routine dental care throughout their lifetime, just from the get-go really. So anybody thinking about acquiring a donkey or anybody with donkeys at home, routine dentistry and farriery is really, really important.
Yeah, and actually you can contact our vets, can't you? If you do need some advice, your vets can contact our vets and get some valuable advice, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a helpline for all veterinary surgeons to be able to give us a call and speak directly to us and our team of veterinary surgeons here at the Donkey Sanctuary, and we are happy to give them any advice as required.
And I know many colleagues, myself included, who over the years have contacted the Donkey Sanctuary for advice, and the advice has always been superb, very practical, very useful and much appreciated.
Yeah, brilliant. And we've got a question for Jamie, following on from the dentistry actually. How many teeth, Donna on YouTube has asked, how many teeth do donkeys have? Do they continually grow teeth like horses do?
Yeah, so similar to horses, they continue to grow teeth throughout their lifetime. So the average donkey has got 44 teeth when they are adult. This can vary as some of them do not get their canine teeth, and they also have a premolar tooth known as the 05 in veterinary terms, which some donkeys have and some donkeys don't have. So generally 44. Occasionally, especially in breeds like the miniature donkeys, they can have extra teeth.
Yes.
So that's always fun when you're examining a mouth and count more than 44. But the normal donkey should have about 44.
About 44. And then we've got one final question from Nathan, who is aged 5 on YouTube for Peter. How old do donkeys live to?
Oh gosh, that's a very good age. And we have a saying in Yorkshire that there's two things you don't see in life: a dying donkey and a satisfied Yorkshire farmer. But I think, 25 to 30 is not unusual, is it?
No, our average would be between 25 and 30. Our oldest donkey currently in our care is 42.
Wow,
42?
fantastic.
Wow, brilliant. I'm sure that answers Nathan's question very well. Thank you both for joining me today. And that's all we've got time for today. We're so sorry we weren't able to visit Donna and Sue at the beach boxes. Maybe we'll try again next time on our next Sanctuary from Your Sofa. Thank you so much for joining us to celebrate the first 5 years of this amazing new equine hospital. Remember, none of this would have been possible without the generosity of our supporters. If you've enjoyed this afternoon's event and would like to make a donation, head to bray.news/donate or scan the QR code on screen now. If you are watching on our website, you can also click on the yellow donate button in the corner of the page, or if you're on Facebook, you can tap the donate button just below the video. Anything you can give would mean a huge amount to everyone here at the Donkey Sanctuary and the wonderful animals that we care for. If you'd like to come along and meet some of our donkeys firsthand, we've got 7 sanctuaries across the UK that are open to visitors, including our charity HQ in Sidmouth. For more information about visiting us, head to braid.news/visit. If you are on our website already, you'll just need to select the Visit Us section on the main menu. Sanctuary from Your Sofa will be back on Friday 9th December as we bring you our annual Carols by Candlelight service live from Sidmouth. Keep an eye on our social media channels for more details. For now, from everyone here at Brookfield Farm, thank you so much for joining us and we will see you soon.